Good morning, brothers and sisters. Today is Tuesday, March the 1st. We're going to start off with the sound saying, coming from Matthew 5:9, and it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." Blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the children of God. Back is coming from 1 Peter 5:10, and it says, "But the God of all grace, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, stable, strengthen, settle you. But the God of all grace, after that ye have suffered a while, make you perfect, stable, strengthen, and settles you." So, the elders used to say that struggle is good for a man. So this is what it says here. Struggle means suffer. And after you have struggled a while, without fainting, without cursing God, without any form of animosity against God, this is your reward. You are strengthened. You become perfect in His sight. You become stable and settled. So that moment or that brief moment of struggle is meant to strengthen you. It is meant to lift you up. It is meant to prepare you. So this may last a while. Okay, let's go back to the story of Joseph. Okay, he has suffered a while. Okay, his ordeal started from the well. That's when his suffering began, when he was sold unto the Israelites. Okay, and then he went and he ended up in the Egyptians' hands. And even then, he labored. He labored well under the guidance of God. But despite that, the enemy came against him and he ended up in the prison. And then he was there for about 6 or 7 years. Okay? And then from the prison back to the palace. Okay? So after he has suffered a while, he became strengthened. He became stable. He was promoted. It was unusual for a Hebrew to have such great power as the Pharaoh. That was an unusual thing to happen. But you see what happened? During the whole time he was suffering, he maintained his hope in God. He kept his trust in God. He kept that communication line open with God. And God used him many times to decipher the dreams of the prisoner, and then to decipher the dream of the king himself. Okay, so after you have suffered a while, make you perfect, stable, strengthened, and settles you. So go through that meantime. Go through it with courage. And know and believe that God knows exactly what you're going through. And remember that He has ordained it. He has not ordained it for you to fail. Okay? So don't be afraid of struggle, for it is good for you. All right? So when you are promoted, you do not become arrogant, conceited. Why? Because you have been strengthened, stable, and settled. All right? And you don't forget the struggle that you have to endure to get to where you are. All right? It's almost like the world is saying, never forget where you came from. All right, the second one, we have 2 for today. I apologize for yesterday's taping. I did do the tape. It was an unusual day, but a good day indeed. I apologize for that. All right, the second one is 1 Thessalonians 5:24. Faithful is he that calleth you, who also will do it. If you have been called, God has not called you in vain. He has called you for a purpose, for such a time as this. Sure, I complain all the time. Lord, I would rather have walked on this earth when Jesus walked. But it was not meant for me to walk alongside my Lord. It was meant to be for me, for God, for me to be among those who have not seen this man, this holy man, but yet my belief in him is just as strong as those that gazed into his eyes, that sat next to him and heard his voice. That's what he said to Timothy. You believe because you have seen, but blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. Blessed are us in our generation who have not touched him, who have not seen him, who have not spoken to him, but yet our belief in him is just as strong as those that walked alongside him. Okay. The back is coming from 1 Samuel 2:9, and it says, he will keep the feet of his saints. Literally, he will keep you, protect you, sustain you. Who? The feet of his saints and his servants. Okay? So, as I promised you, we must always do a little bit of my notes. But we're not going to do but a page and a half today. Get my marker. In 4 Daniel, it talks about the 4 beasts, the 4 beasts reference 4 world empires. Now, the last beast refers to a latter time. The time is this time. So back in those times, that dream pertained to those things that would happen in that time, but there was one of those beasts that pertained to what is going on in our time. And there will be a word that will let you know that it does speak of our times. Let's continue. 4 beast referrals, 4 world empires symbolized as 4 beasts. First beast, King Nebuchadnezzar's deliverance from a beastly existence and his insight into the true nature of God. Second beast had to deal with the Median and Persian Empire. The rising up of one indicates that one of the kingdom's parts, Persia, will be dominant. The 3 ribs of the creatures in the creature's mouth symbolizes nations that were devoured by Medians and Persians, which was the Babylonians, the Scythians, and the Egyptians. Okay. The rising up of one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth between its teeth. The third beast represents Greece, an empire known for the swiftness of its conquests. The 4 beasts are predictions of the 4-way division of the empire following Alexander the Great's death. The 4th beast represents the Roman Empire, a mighty kingdom that indeed crushed all of its foes, and it did. Okay, but it also fell. It may have been a very powerful empire to reckon with, but it still fell for their evil deeds. So Daniel's vision of the four beasts provided a prophetic look at future world events. Looking back from our perspective, we see that these events as world history and can easily see the correlation between each beast and a world empire. However, there was more to Daniel's vision, and some of it is yet future even for us. As I said, there was a lot to that dream of, or that vision of Daniel that pertained to generations to come, our generation. As the interpretation of the vision is given to Daniel, the prophets asked specifically about the fourth beast because it was the one that was the most dreadful of all the other beasts, the most powerful of all the other beasts. Okay? Specifically about the fourth beast and its horns. The angel explained, the beast's 10 horns are 10 kings who will rise from the kingdom. The little imposing horn with the eyes and the mouth of a human represents a latter king. Before him, 3 of the original kings will be subdued. This evil king will speak against the Most High and oppress his holy people. He will seek to change the times and laws. Are not the times and laws changed today? Do we not have commercials now that encourage you to stay immature? Not encourage you to obtain wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It literally encourages you to stay immature. Have we not changed the laws of marriage? Have we not rejected all the laws of God? Are we not partaking in abominations beyond abominations? And he will exert oppressive powers over God's people for 3.5 years. This world leader that Daniel saw is the what? What is that word I said that you will hear me say? That it will verify that it speaks of our generation. This world leader that Daniel saw, that he questioned about, is the Antichrist. He is the Antichrist. The ruler who will come. Who sets up the abominations in, and he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, and in the midst of the week he shall cause the sacrifice and the obligations to cease, and because of the protection of abominations. Are not abominations protected today? Do the gays and lesbians have protection today that they never had in any other generation? That they could never obtain during the biblical times? And because of the protection of abominations, there shall be desolation, even until the consumption and what is determined shall be poured out upon the desolation. So like I keep saying to you, the worst has yet to come. Brace yourself. Because if you have no fear in your heart now, when that moment comes, fear will cover your heart. And you will certainly look for God. You will search for him out of fear. Let it not be too late for you. Let me finish it up. He will confirm his promise with many for 1 week of 7-time period. In the middle of the 7-time periods, he will stop the sacrifices and food offering. This will happen along with disgusting things. There were no disgusting things going on before now. It is disgusting to see two of the same sexes at the altar. And it's even more disgusting to see someone who professes to be a servant of the Most High God in the midst of this abomination. This will happen along with disgusting things that cause destruction until those time periods come to an end. It has been determined that this will happen to those who destroy the city. Moving on down to Proverbs 6:16 to 19, and this is a good reminder to remind you all year long. There are 6 things the Lord hates, 7 are detestable to him: hefty eyes, lying tongues. What do? False accusations of rape by a group in great numbers. You don't really believe that these women were telling the truth? It's one thing for someone to force themselves on you. That is called a rape. That is an abomination unto God. But it's a whole different spectrum for you to give yourself up in order to gain a promotion or a privilege or an opportunity, and then yell rape. Convicting the innocent, deformation of characters. That's the job of a lying tongue. Hands that shed innocent blood. Abortions. A heart that devises wicked schemes. Gender changes. Marriage degradation. Tampering with election procedure. That all is evil. And when you do that which is evil, evil befalls us. I did mention this to you. If there was anything shady done during the course of this election, this past presidential election, it will come to the surface. It came on January the 6th. Never has any other president was greeted like that by his people. Never. Protecting the wicked. LGBT laws, Black Lives Matter, KKK, all of them are wicked. Feet that are quick to rush into evil. False imprisonment, destruction of personal property or parts of a city. Theft in broad daylight. False witnesses who pour out lies. A person who stirs up conflict in the community, among family and friends, causing distinction, division. They are called sowers of discord. Proverbs 6:19. All right, we'll stop there. All right, let's start with the reading. have my colorful Bible out. And in Matthew 24, here it says the signs of the end of ages. In my colorful Bible, it says, Jesus, I will let this score the destruction of the temple in the last days. Yes, it does speak of these times also. Let's begin. When Jesus said to the crowd, Jesus left the temple and was walking away when his disciples came up to him to call his attention to a building. Do you see all these things? He asked. I tell you the truth. Not one stone here will be left on another. Everyone will be thrown down. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. Tell us, they asked, when will this happen, and what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age? The end of the age is also another way of saying the last days. Jesus answered, pay attention now, because this is already happening. Jesus answered, watch out that no one deceives you. The Antichrist will be able to deceive many, even among some of the elect. I said some. I should have really said few. For those that are impressed by the Antichrist, I tell you the truth, it will be your mega pastors. Because they are blind mice. And the blind can only lead the blind. A blind man cannot lead a person who has vision. For many will come in my name claiming, I am the Christ, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Are we not hearing this? But see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen. But the end is still to come. Nations will rise against nations and kingdoms against kingdoms. There will be famine and earthquakes in various places. Are we not experiencing that? Is there not a shortage of food? You're not going to your grocery stores and see that the shelves are empty. Is our land producing as it used to? No, even the land is crumbling. All these are the beginning of birth pains. I said to you before, this is just the beginning. Then you will be handed over to be persecuted and be put to death, and you will be hated by all nations because of me. Yes. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold. But he who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole land, in the whole world, as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. And you have certain places now where you cannot teach Christianity. My brothers literally have to get into an airplane and drop those Bibles into the territories for the people to pick up. Today. They have to drop them out of the sky. Are there people down on the ground to receive them? Yes. Can they be killed for being found with the Bible? Yes. Today, 2022. So when you see standing in the holy place the abominations that cause desolation, what is standing in the holy place that is abominable? A priest or a pastor marrying two of the same sexes. A priest or a pastor that has just announced that this man is my husband. A 63-year-old who marries an 8-year-old. Monstrosities. So when you see standing in the holy place the abominations that cause desolation, spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the roof of his house go down to take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get his clout. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath. Flight. What does that mean? We will have to take flight at some point in the coming future. We will surely have to take flight. Where does the Father say we should go? Were you paying attention? Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. You heard it again, eh? Good. Let no one in the field go back to get his clout. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great distress, unequal from the beginning of the world until now. Let me read that again. For there will be great distress, unequal from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equal again. So that has not happened yet, but we're working our way towards it. For those of you who believe not, let death be your reward. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, look, here is the Christ, or there he is, do not believe it. For the false Christ and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and miracles to deceive even the elect, if that were possible. It's very difficult to fool the elect. So there will only be a few elect, and if among those that are there, they will be among your mega pastors. They are the easiest one to fool. Once you throw your money at. So if anybody tells you, there he is out in the desert, do not go out. Or here he is in the inner rooms, do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. It will be a spectacular event. If he does not come from above, that is not the true Christ. And when he comes from above, he will not come alone. So this is how you know not to be deceived. If he didn't come from above, he is not the true Christ. Because he will come the same way he left, as the Bible says. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky. They're doing that now. More so than ever. And the heavenly bodies will be shaken. At the time, the sign of the Son of Man will appear in the sky, and all the nations of the earth will moan. They will see the Son of Man coming on the cloud of the sky. As I said, if he doesn't come from above, he is not the true Christ. You will see him. And the multitudes that come behind him. With power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather their elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see all these things, you know that it is near, right at the door. I tell you the truth. This generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my word will never pass away. The day and the hour is unknown even unto Christ. Only God knows exactly what day that will be. No one knows about the day or hour or even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. This is how it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. 2 men will be in the field. One will be taken and the other left. 2 women will be grinding with a hand mill. One will be taken and the other left. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this, if the owner of the house had knew at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house be broken into. So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Who then is the faithful and wise servant, whom the master has put in charge of the servants in his household, to give them their food at the proper time, but the food is not being given? Where's the food? The food is the word of God. It is not being given. Instead, you listen to all that babbling, which will do you no good. It's like trying to eat a plastic banana. It will do you no good. It will harm you. It will be good for that servant whose master finds him doing so when he returns. I tell you the truth, he will put him in charge of all his possession. But suppose that servant is wicked and says to himself, my master is staying away a long time, and he then begins to beat his fellow servants and to eat and drink with drunkenness. The master of the servant will come on a day when he does not expect him, and at an hour he is not aware of. He will cut him to pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So yes, hell will become overpopulated. So please, do yourself a favor and stop walking by that Bible you keep on your shelf. Open it up and read it. This is not a time for you to be ignoring it. This is a time for you to be embracing it and holding on tight, because the ride is going to get rough. And it may even be lonely for some of you. But it's better to be prepared than to be unprepared and caught surprised. Thank you very much for listening to us here at Spiritual Water. My name is Brenda Guerrero. As always, may the peace of God be upon you. May the protection of God surround you and all those you love. And may the will of God for this earth be manifested. Thank you for listening. I love you. God loves you more. Love yourself and read the Bible. And prepare yourself for the unthinkable. For we want survivors. We want to survive whatever God got coming this way. Let's be among his survivors. Have a beautiful day. And if I live and nothing happens, I'll see you again.